Welcome into a Monday morning edition of the Jordy Culotta Show right here live from the undisclosed location on this Monday, May 3rd. Hope everybody had a good, safe weekend. We got a lot to get to on this Monday morning. Just like every Monday, we're driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember, online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. You can always find Go Chevrolet online. Great social media. One of the newest used car lots in Baton Rouge is over on Florida Boulevard. That is Go Express Sales. Of course, the newest member of the Go Chevrolet family. Jordy Culotta, Lizzie's here, Jack's here, Katie's here after a good weekend.
We all survived.
About tons of news, man, coming out of the weekend. Whether it is the NFL draft, we will talk about the draft with New Orleans Saints writer Nick Underhill, and we are excited to announce that Underhill will be a regular here on the Jordy Culotta Show, and we've got some good news for our advertisers and people out there that could be interested in buying real estate on NewOrleans.Football. It is the most popular site to find New Orleans Saints coverage, and Nick Underhill covers the Saints as good as anybody out there. He'll be stopping by at 8:30 this morning. We'll talk to Underhill about the New Orleans Saints draft. At 8 a.m., Derek Stingley Sr. There is not a mock draft that you can find in this world right now that does not have his son within the top 4 picks of the 2022 draft. We will ask him about this year. We'll ask him what his thoughts were on last weekend's draft and the offseason stories for Stingley Jr. and some of the LSU football storylines to watch out for here in this spring and summer. 7:30 this morning, we will talk to Will Wade. An enormous weekend for LSU basketball, whether it was women's or men's basketball. LSU men pick up another out of the transfer portal, making it official. We've been talking about this story for a while, but Adam Miller, the talented freshman out of Illinois, made it official over the weekend. He's coming to LSU. So LSU picks up another transfer portal.
Two heavyweights on our own backyard going at it. Kim Mulkey and Will Wade just firing back and forth.
And then across the hall, Mulkey picks up a 5-star of her own as she brings in former Baylor basketball player and Hannah Guster as a 5-star is following Mulkey over to Baton Rouge. So there is a ton to get to. LSU baseball. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a total reclassification of the LSU women's roster, as there will be a total turnover, and it'll start with Hannah Gusters. So we appreciate if you're out there inside of the bunker and you're watching. Remember, you can get involved whether you are on Facebook, JordyCulottaShow.com, or on YouTube. We appreciate you being there. All of our guests this morning that appear on the phone line, compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. We were over at the LSU baseball game over the weekend. Shout out to Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan for a couple of tickets up in the Metropolitan Health Suite as we saw Coach Kim Mulkey work in the halls, work in the room, working after her opening pitch in Game 3.
She was wearing Kramer's jersey.
Wearing Kramer's jersey.
Crowd went nuts.
Crowd went crazy.
She just gets it.
She does, man. She got out there fired. She was working the suites afterwards. She came up to all the suites and was kind of telling stories and talking about life at LSU. She had just gotten the news from Hannah Guster, so there was a lot of good vibes up in the baseball suites this weekend, especially for Game 3. That was the game that we showed up for.
That was a crazy game
on Saturday. We left before the 9th inning.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow!
Before all the fireworks.
Yeah, that was
I thought it was in the
We're
bag.
good to go,
I thought it was in the bag. I mean,
Should've known.
Wade and Mulkey were arguing back and forth on who brought the good luck, whether it was Mulkey or Wade for the win on Saturday. But
so they almost jinxed it.
It's
like the equivalent of my tweet. It was like,
they nearly pissed that thing away, man.
I looked up, the bases are loaded with no outs.
If they lose, does Paul make it through Sunday?
Oh, after that, no.
Yeah, I mean, he does, but not really. Like,
Morally,
in title only.
And Tiger droppings.
Yeah, oh, goodness.
There was a report over the weekend. One Team, One Podcast was putting it out that he's got on good sources that Paul Mainieri is meeting with Scott Woodward, has met with Scott Woodward, and announced his retirement, and is planning on retiring.
it's a rumor, though,
after
right?
this season.
Still a rumor?
I know, but I just see the Roy Williams, that analogy we always bring up.
I think it makes too much sense if you're Paul Mainieri. If you look at Roy Williams and see the way that he left the game and see the way that it seems like the game is passing him by, that
daily,
it's just time to
How
come
old
out
is
and
Pulmonary?
say. We can look this up, but
Let's
I
all
would say
guess.
60. I would say 65.
Oh, I was going to
Okay.
say 66.
Okay. All right. What would you guess?
I guess mid-60s would be
Mid-60s?
right. Yeah.
63.
63.
Oh,
Oh, he's actually 63. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And is there a bigger like juxtaposition of Kim Mulkey coming in and getting to like glad hand everybody and go to the booth and throw their first pitch, and Paul Benary's just sitting there like, oh my
know.
God, like two ships passing in the night.
It is. It is. I mean,
It's like
one
that.
with a little pickup hug on the way in.
Oh my
Yes, you know
gosh.
what I mean. That will be an
That's
image.
Iconic.
That will be an image that lives on forever. I mean,
That's what
that'll be
everyone talks
It's the
about.
presser.
every
Just
time.
call him. Oh, I would have left him. Or why did you keep him in?
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Salt in the wound.
I wonder what she said when she picked him up.
I know. Wouldn't he love to
Whisper
know
Superman.
what was in his ear, what
Hey,
she
little
said in
fella.
his ear?
Hey, look.
Like picking up Kramer.
How about the weekend for Sam Burns?
LSU all the way, all over the place.
Sammy Burns with his first PGA Tour win in his 76th career start. He won the Valspar Championship on Sunday. 6 times in less than a year that Burns has been in the top 4 on the leaderboard entering the final round. The 3rd time he's had at least a share of the 54-hole lead heading into Sunday. He had collapsed before. He's been surpassed before. None of those happened on Sunday. Huge win for Sam Burns. With the win, Burns secured the standard spoils like the 2-year tour exemption. He'll be on the tour for the next 2 years. How about the first Masters invite in 2022? He also has an invite to the PGA Championship, and he netted $1.2 million.
At the age of 24.
Became the
It's a nice
38th
day.
player to earn in excess of $2 million and moved into 14th place in the FedEx Cup standings. As Saturday was the 8th time that Burns, as we said, had led or co-led after the 54
He had
holes.
to start kind of getting a little nervous, like, oh, I'm in this spot again. Like, if you start losing it and then you get that little reputation for it, it gets in your own head. So you got to
Joker.
get that dub.
But finally crosses over, man. So
Yes.
maybe this opens it up. Maybe this is what he's been waiting on. So shout out to Sam Burns. Congratulations to him, as it was a nice magical weekend for the former LSU golfer. The SEC dominated the NFL draft. Led all conferences in draft selections for the 15th straight year with 65 picks out of the SEC, the most by a conference in a single draft. They set the record last year with 63. All 14 schools in the league had at least one player selected. The only conference that had every school with a pick. The Big 10, the Big 12, excuse me, the 10-team conference produced 0 first-round picks. First time since 2000 that a Power 5 conference had failed to produce a first-round pick. I mean, we're not arguing over this stuff anymore, are we?
No.
Where the
No.
best football is. I mean, because I remember that the Big 12 usually was as loud and as proud as any conference out there, but nothing will put an argument to sleep like going through an NFL draft and not producing 1 out of 10 teams.
Ohio State
1.
did nothing?
But the Big 12 is like Texas,
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma State, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's surprising.
I
Yeah.
mean,
No
no.
quarterback, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State.
None of these
State,
schools sounds like first round talent to me,
Well, I
except
mean,
for
but
Oklahoma.
You've
Yeah,
seen Iowa offensive linemen.
or a D lineman. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Come out in selective year. I mean, I know Texas has been on a skid in not producing, draft picks over the last couple of years. But I mean, Oklahoma has been there. Oklahoma State is usually putting out a wide
they
receiver, a
usually
defensive
do.
back.
Usually Oklahoma.
But I mean, look, man, 65 players drafted out of the SEC.
Alabama
And
broke some records.
Alabama
too,
broke records. LSU was setting records last year. Alabama was breaking them. This year they had 6 drafted in the first round. That beat LSU's SEC record of 5 last season. Alabama had 8 players chosen in the first 38 picks in the draft. That's 21% of the first 40 picks.
They
that
tied
Alabama-
that Miami record we talked about last week.
That
too.
Alabama is now selling on the recruiting trail. Saban has had 100 players drafted since he's been there. And look, LSU had a nice weekend as well. I'm just kind of trying to highlight the SEC's dominance.
Yeah.
LSU had 5 players selected during the final day of the NFL draft on Saturday, running the Tigers total to 7 selections during the 3-day rounds. With 7 picks in this year's draft, LSU has now seen 21 players in the draft over the past 2 seasons. That's the highest total in school history, as a year ago, LSU tied that Miami record with 14 total players drafted. This year was 7, puts him at 21 over the past 2 seasons. On Saturday, LSU former linebacker Jabril Cox was the first off the board as he went in the 4th round to the Dallas Cowboys. The defensive tackle Tyler Shelvin went in the 4th round to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Are we Bengals fans now?
Are you kidding?
I think everyone
Bro,
is, right?
Watch parties. I mean, I might get the NFL ticket just because I want to be able to watch every.
I got
Bengals
a site for you.
Red zone?
I just got that too.
Red zone.
Yes, yeah.
The red zone is crack, bro.
Oh my
I
goodness!
mean, it is football crack.
It's you could say if you watch the red zone, you could say you're watching football, but really you're just doing drugs. Like
Yeah.
it's just a main line of football,
Dopamine
right?
rush.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know what's happening, but I've gambled on all of these somehow.
Yes, I mean it is. But the next thing you know, it's 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, you're naked.
Smoking cigarettes. Bring me another drink in here.
And they're gonna play one game tonight.
But LSU 6th round draft pick Racey McMath was taken by the Tennessee Titans in the 6th round. Jacoby Stevens and Kerry Vincent went on Saturday, as well as Stevens was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, and Kerry Vincent was drafted by the Denver Broncos as well. And you know what happened on the opening day is Jamar Chase became the highest drafted player at wide receiver in school history as he went number 5 overall, reuniting with Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Joe Burrow up in Cincinnati. And then on day 2, Terrace Marshall was the lone selection as he went 59th overall to Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Carolina. Yeah, is steal.
I think that's the steal of the draft
Steal,
almost.
bro.
My goodness. And then Joe Brady's like, y'all, he's still here?
I mean,
I can hook up Terrace Marshall.
tumbling. He's another one that I think injuries,
It's an injury prone.
just injury concern.
And not be able to put like your eyes on him the way you would normally in like a COVID-stricken time of analysis, I guess. So it probably did hurt him a little bit, but I mean, the Panthers got a stud.
I thought he answered all those questions at Pro Day. I really thought that he had put all that stuff to rest with the way that he tested, to the film that he put out during his junior season and the 8 games that he played last year. Caught everything. I mean, he caught everything.
Never dropped a red zone pass.
I don't think he dropped a ball. I don't think he dropped a target in 2019.
He played the draft process. If there's no injury concerns, whatever, he played it perfectly. Like, let me go out, prove I can be a 1, play 8 games, play with 3 different quarterbacks and still put up numbers, and let me just slide on out of here and get ready for the draft.
Yeah. It was.
Panthers are looking good.
Panthers
Sam
are.
Darnold's got some
No.
weapons.
Yes, I know. And it was
Maybe.
just a matter of time. I mean, it was like Matt Rule. They come in here. Rule's making a lot of good decisions, it seems like, from a personnel and a coaching standpoint.
NFC South, watch out.
Yeah, watch out, man. I agree. So we'll talk to Nick Underhill coming up at 8:30 this morning on the New Orleans Saints draft. As a lot of the stuff that I'm not gonna act like that I can give this
Well,
draft.
especially with the Saints draft. Like, I don't know any of these people.
I mean, I don't know any of these guys. Man. I mean, Peyton Turner, we talked about on Friday morning when we got back here. I mean, I couldn't have picked Peyton Turner out of a crowd of 2 on Thursday night. Pete Werner, the inside linebacker. Everything that I read on the Saints, though, seems like they were reaching at times for players, which is very Sean Payton-esque, where he likes to, at times, or not at times, he likes to be the smartest guy in the room. Where, he's looking left and everybody's looking right. And I think,
Ian Book in the 4th round.
trade up, bro. I mean, trade up to get Ian Book. I haven't seen Ian Book take a snap over the last 4 years that I was impressed. Not one thing that I saw Ian Book do at Notre Dame that I say, wow, that was pretty good.
He'll be an NFL starter on Sundays.
Exactly. You want to give up draft capital to get that guy?
Yeah.
Well, no, Sean Payton has to have some sort of deal with the devil where he has to trade up and then he just has to take somebody. Like, he just has to make a trade. He gets bored.
Before the draft, there's something about the Saints trading up. It was some
Over the last 14 drafts, the Saints have made 21 moves. I mean, it was like something stupid.
How'd
It
that
was like
happen?
something ridiculous where, I mean, it's almost like drugs. I mean, he's got to take
Looking around.
Absolutely. What
4th round,
move can
shit,
we
need
make?
to draft up.
Yeah.
Is that abnormal? That's like a whole lot for a team to do.
it's just a lot of action. It's just a lot of moving. You know what I mean? A lot of people, a lot of people build their teams through the draft, and a lot of people like to accumulate picks. The Saints do the opposite. They give up picks to try to make like splash, which I have respect for. But I mean, you have to hit on these guys. Like Marcus Davenport was one.
Well, the Tommy Stevens thing, like you don't even have to hit on that. It was just bizarre to do.
It was. Mark Ingram, even looking back on it, was.
It was. I mean, it was frowned upon.
Aggressive,
and it took about 3 or 4 years for like. Well, I guess we won the trade. I don't know, but yeah, you trade up to get him in the first round, and he wasn't actually very good for the first 2 years.
So we'll talk to Underhill about his thoughts on the New Orleans Saints draft, and if you have not subscribed to NewOrleans.Football, we will be urging you to do that as our relationship with Underhill and NewOrleans.Football gets going today, and we are very excited about that because he is the absolute best when it comes to covering the franchise and has the best relationships that you'll find in the building. That's who Alvin Kamara last season, when asked about an injury, a specific injury to somebody in the building, he said that he didn't know about it and said the only person that has better sources with him than him inside the building was Underhill. So, I mean, he's as connected as you will find within the New Orleans Saints organization, and whoever is covering the Saints, Underhill's the absolute premier. He is the best at it. So looking forward to talking to him at 8:30 this morning, and also talking to Derek Stingley Sr. coming up here at 8 a.m. this morning. No matter the outlets that you find here on this Monday morning, looking forward to the draft of 2022. Derek Stingley Jr. is 1 through 4. I have not seen a mock draft. Mel Kiper Jr. has him as the top player on the board next season as far as just football players go. Sam Howell, the North Carolina quarterback, is up there. The defensive end from Oregon is up there.
Boudreaux.
And then the big offensive lineman from Alabama, Evan. I forget who it is, but there's an underclass offensive lineman right now from Alabama. That's usually the
he'll stay
popular
in Alabama.
Top 4 exactly going into next season. But Stingley is. I have not seen him below the 4th selection for next season, just going into next year's draft. So we will talk to Derek Stingley Sr. About that, just kind of about what the next year will look like, how they took in the draft, and here they are. I mean, this is the year of what they've talked about for so long. I mean, think about it. I mean, I've been covering Stingley Jr. Since he's been in 8th grade. He was a starting cornerback at the Dunham School when he was an 8th grader. And by 10th grade, everybody knew that he was going to potentially be the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, and then his junior season, he becomes the number 1 recruit in the country. His freshman season in college football, he's a unanimous All-American and arguably the best cornerback in the game. He's got a down season his sophomore year, and here he is in his money year going into his draft season. So the Sporting News has him number 2. ESPN has him number 3. NFL Draft Vault has him number 2. So there is no service out there that does not have Stingley Jr. a top 5 pick. Cody Boudreaux asked Stingley opt out. We'll ask Stingley Sr. here in an hour, but I would imagine no, that he will be playing.
But thank you for the YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but also I wonder what type of feedback that Stingley Sr. and whoever is advising him or talking to him, the feedback that they got from decision makers on guys that did sit out. Not everybody was Jamar Chase. Not everybody was Jamar Chase who could sit out and still be a top 5 pick. There were some people that sat out that may have had some dings on that. I wonder if Terrace Marshall was one of them. You know, I mean, what else could Terrace Marshall really have done? Why did he fall? Because he had a foot problem in high school? Maybe. But he also opted out last season, and I wonder if that was anything to do with his draft analysis, his draft recap, or, the thought of him going into the selections.
Yeah. Definitely those old football heads.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just the old school way of thinking. You quit on your team.
No.
Well, all right.
Well, he's a quitter.
Okay, exactly.
I was going to say, that's the one thing on the LSU draft that I found interesting was that Jacoby Stevens slid so far. I didn't think he was going to be a 6th round pick.
Where do you put him? Where do you play him? I mean,
I guess that's the question.
in a league that you throw it so much, you've got to be able to cover as a defensive back. I always thought that Stevens was really great off the edge. I mean, he affected the game more as a pass rusher than he did as in coverage. He looked lost at times in coverage, though he was very aggressive. He was real physical around the line of scrimmage. He's tough to get your hands on.
I just like the way he kind of lurks around on the football field. Like it's positionless, and it may be like hard to like fit a square peg into a round hole or whatever. But I think you can kind of build around him and let him just go play.
I think make his name in special teams, especially as a rookie.
Oh, he'll be run down there and catching heads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 6th, 7th round picks, you got to do that.
Yeah. But, I mean, we were just talking about from the 2019 team. We were wondering if he's going to come back or not for 2020. So that might have hurt him more than anything. It's just coming back and being on a bad team.
Yeah, could have. I mean, I know that there were some questions on where he fit in. But, he could also be another one that you just got to get in.
That's what I'm saying. I think he needs to go play.
Yeah, just get him on a roster and see where he fits in. A lot of people locally are talking about the story of Dylan Moses. And Moses was, as we tell you, Alabama set all types of draft records for what they accomplished over the weekend. And Alabama, as we said, had 6 first-round picks. They had 8 chosen in the first 38 picks of the draft, and many people expected Dylan Moses to be one of those names, the former Baton Rouge product and top recruit in the country. Moses went undrafted over the weekend, but did sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if you just do a little bit of research on this, you'll find that Moses was, had a lot of questions about injury. He played this past season with a torn MCL after he was coming off of rehabilitation for a torn ACL that he sustained the year before.
Why
now
do they let him play like that?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
That's a great question.
Position of lateral movement. Are you kidding?
That is a great question. After the first 2 years where he was a freshman All-American and then he was a first-team All-SEC player and a Butkus Award finalist his sophomore year. I mean, you're talking about somebody that was on a trajectory, really, where it looked like he was going to be a first-round pick. Then going into his junior season, he blows his knee out. He doesn't play a snap there. He comes back for his medically red-shirted junior season last year and plays okay at times, but then come to find out, when you would watch Alabama play, and anybody here around the Baton Rouge area who saw Moses play, his biggest attribute was his speed. His closing speed. I mean, just the physical nature that he played with. I mean, I was able to call all of his high school football snaps from freshman to junior year before he left to IMG Academy. So, I mean, really got to know him as the player and as the person and really kind of saw the type of game that he played. He wasn't playing that type of game at Alabama this past season. He just wasn't. He didn't have that step that you were used to seeing him. Whether it was in the closing speed or whether it was in the takeoff. I mean, he was just such a dynamic athlete. And I know he was coming off of an injury, but he still looked like he was favoring his knee. It still looked like he was hurt. Well, come to find out, he played last season with a torn MCL, which, like you, I don't know who made that decision, who allowed that decision, whether it came down to Moses and his family making that decision. But when the draft process popped up, they weren't able to give teams any medical information that the teams could trust. I mean, I read where as many as 12 teams didn't even have Moses on the board. They didn't even have his name up there because they couldn't get medical information on him.
Would have thought if you told me that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago, think about 4 years ago. I mean, he's got to be, and I think he makes it. I think that Moses makes it. I think he's too good of a football player, and once he gets rehabbed and he gets right, and I hope his knees can still hold up. But I still think that he has a short to medium nice NFL career. I don't think he's going to be a one-year cut guy. I think he's just too good of a football player. But he is a cautionary tale. He's got to be a cautionary tale.
Just that position and knees, that's just, you're laterally moving. Like, you need your ACL and MCL.
Got to have it to move laterally. But, I wonder what Moses was weighing when he decided to play on a torn MCL? What was the advantage of playing on a torn MCL over putting out the film and now the analysis of injury prone? Can you trust him? There's not enough film to make a decision, and he goes undrafted. Remember, he could have come back for a 6th season if he wanted to, whether it was because of his medical red shirt or if he wanted to take advantage of the COVID rule.
Did he think playing would get him drafted?
Sure.
Like that was a better chance than sitting out, taking that chance to get injured even more?
After sitting out in 19, I think he looked at 20 and said, I have to play.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would just
So
be
it's just a
my
huge risk
that would just be
you
my
take.
guess
Yeah.
that he said. But, I mean, it was an enormous risk, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
It didn't work out from the draft standpoint. He's going to have to fight, claw, scratch his way to an NFL roster. Jacksonville signed him in the free agent draft process. But it's an incredible story. I mean, this is somebody that was on the cover of ESPN, the magazine, when he was in eighth grade.
He saw his brother.
He was offered by LSU as an 8th grader. He was offered by Alabama as a 9th grader. He was committed to LSU for 3 seasons. LSU committed the number 7 to Dylan Moses before he ever even signed his letter of intent. Come to find out, right before the letter of intent was signed, LSU and Les Miles move on from one another, and that opens up the door, so the Moseses say, for Saban and Alabama to come in here and pick up LSU's most prized recruit. For a 3-year stretch, Moses was the golden child. I mean, he was on LSU's campus at University High. He was the number 1 recruit in the country. LSU had worked him out, from a solo standpoint as an 8th grader and offered him. And now here we are 5 years later looking at the next chapter after college for Moses, being an undrafted free agent trying to make an NFL team. So
Rusty Brooks said it was meniscus, not MCL.
okay, so he tore he played last season with a torn meniscus. All right, so look, there's a lot to get to. We will revisit the draft talk. As we said, Nick Underhill will be here in an hour talking New Orleans Saints draft. Derek Stingley Sr. will be here in 30 minutes talking LSU. We'll talk to him about Sting Jr. and some of the things to look forward to next season. We will also talk to Roman Banks at 8:45 this morning, as Coach Roman Banks made it official over the weekend as they hired Jason Rollins as their head football coach. We'll talk to Coach Banks about the decision to land on Rollins this weekend and what the expectation is for the Jags moving into the future. But it was an enormous weekend for LSU basketball as Coach Wade and Coach Mulkey were able to pick up a couple of bona fide players, as Adam Miller, the transfer from Illinois, after a stellar freshman season for the Illini, put his name into the transfer portal, and he was rated by collegehoops.com as the second-rated transfer in the portal as of last week.
Wow.
33 coming out of
That's
high school.
exciting.
Over the weekend, he names LSU as the school. He is coming to Baton Rouge. He will join another transfer in Xavier Pinson, who made it official a couple of weeks back, and then Terry Eason from Cincinnati sent his paperwork in over the weekend. So Willie Wade and the LSU basketball team are cleaning up. We'll talk to him next year on the LSU, or we'll talk to him next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, presented every single day by Falaya Real Estate. Remember, over at Falaya Real Estate, get in touch with Barrett Blondo this morning at 225-939-6153 or online at falaya.com. You can download the Falaya app at your Apple and Google app stores. If you like doing your things yourself, if you want to save some money and need cash, then you got to check out Falaya Real Estate. It's do-it-yourself for selling your house. For more information, visit falaya.com or download the app at the Google Play or Apple Store today at falaya.com. We'll be back with Will Wade right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local...
Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, presented by Go Chevrolet. Stop in and check out Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the crew down in Laplace, Louisiana. If you need a used car, over here on Florida Boulevard, the newest member to the Go Chevrolet family at Go Express Auto Sales. Newest member to the LSU basketball team is Adam Miller from the Fighting Illini as he put his name into the transfer portal. Will Wade cannot speak specifically about him, but he was all over social media. Miller was this past weekend, saying that it was official. He's coming to LSU, and Miller is going to join Xavier Pinson, the transfer from Missouri, and also Terry Eason, who the LSU basketball program received the paperwork for over the weekend, approving the transfer from Eason from the University of Cincinnati. A lot like Miller here. Eason, a freshman this past season, and was one of the dominant players in the American Athletic Conference as he was an all freshman selection. So the rich get richer over the weekend, but not done. Our friend Willie Wade checking in this morning as it was good to see him over the weekend, hanging out in our friend Charles Harvey, Metropolitan Health Group, up at the Suite this weekend for LSU baseball. Only game of the weekend the Tigers win is a game that Mulkey and Wade show up to on Saturday afternoon. So the two basketball coaches bring in good luck. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Hopefully I'm going to take some of that luck to softball today. We need to sweep today, this afternoon in softball. So we've been losing the first game and winning the next two. We've done that like 3 series, Missouri and Kentucky, a couple series in softball. So hopefully we can take our good mojo over to Tiger Park this afternoon.
Yeah, she's like 8-1 in the doubleheaders this year, is Beth Torina with the softball crew. So hopefully she can keep that rolling today as a doubleheader over at Tiger Park over the weekend. Coach, we said it, you can't mention the name specifically that popped over the weekend, but you have had tremendous success in the portal, which seems this is the new way to recruit your sport. Can you just talk about the success that the Tigers have had here early on, and then we'll jump into some of these names that have jumped into the boat?
Yeah, I mean, it's the new wave of recruiting, being able to mix really, really talented freshmen and young guys and, mix it in the portal. And so, it's a tight rope you're walking. It's a tight balancing act because, you got to get some talented guys. You've got to upgrade your roster, but you got to keep, the young guys and the talented guys that you have in your program. You got to be able to keep them happy too and keep them in the program. And so I think, as much as getting in the portal is exciting, you've got to keep the pieces that you've got. We've got some really, really talented young guys with Eric Gaines and Wani, Alex Fudge. Like, we're really, really excited about those guys, and we certainly want to do everything we can to keep those guys with us while adding some guys around them. And I think we've done a good job of that so far.
This is usually when you do a lot of your research. This is usually when you do a lot of your fact finding and trying to get better for the next season. What's the agenda like as things start to ease up around COVID protocols for you, as far as getting out, trying to learn basketball and trying to improve your program?
Well, not the most exciting stuff this time of year, but have actually sitting in a binder right to the side of me right now. I have all of our offensive rebounds that we gave up this year, where we gave them up, and who was responsible. So I can figure out exactly where our defense was not the defense was not the issue, but the rebounding was, and there's 2 or 3 trends in the rebounding that I think can really, really help us. We've got to do a couple things quite a bit better just from my gloss over of the initial findings and initial studies, the 10,000-foot view. But I'm going to dig in and watch every one of them. I've already had somebody chart every one of them for me and show me where they went off and basically assign a responsibility to it. And we've got to get tougher. We've got to get more physical at the guard spot. We've got to be able to rebound better from the guard spot. I think that's the overall takeaway. It's not something I didn't really already know, but just being able to chart the shots and know where we gave up a lot of the shots from. If we keep the same defensive philosophy, which I like a lot of it, if we can keep that same defensive philosophy, we know where the shots are going to come off now, and now we've just got to be better at tracking those down.
You changed your defensive identity last season after a year under the new look and going into another season of installation and more of placing those principles on the defensive side. Where are you, and what did you think of it?
I thought it was solid. I thought we obviously could have been better rebounding the ball. We could have been better getting our defense set with our transition defense. But really the rebounding was by far the biggest issue. If we'd have just rebounded the ball 3% better, we'd have gone from, we were the worst defensive rebounding team in the league. But if we'd have rebounded 3% better, which is another like 2.5 a game, we'd have been middle of the road in the league, and our defense would have actually been top 50 in the country. And so it's just, it's in the margins when you get to that point. And so we've got to work on that. We've got to fix that. And I think we've got a good idea where the issues are now. Now we've got, 6 months to get it fixed.
Xavier Pinson got a lot of experience in this league, comes in and comes into your backcourt. And then Terry Eason is another one. Let's start with Eason, because I know you got the paperwork on him, and he's somebody that's coming in with minimal college experience, Coach. But when you look at his numbers and look at what he accomplished at the high school level, this is very much a high-end player.
Yeah, you look at what he did against in the state championship game for his high school out in Washington against Paulo Banchero, who's going to Duke. Just incredible performance. If you look at his, I didn't really know who he was. And then I started looking at his advanced metrics, and we have a numerical system we assign to all the transfers and all this stuff. And it came across my desk, and he showed up as a surefire SEC starter. And I was like, who is this guy? I started watching a bunch of film on him, and he has a 15% offensive rebounding rate, which is incredible. That'd have been the best on our team. And his block rate is top 5 in the country per minute played.
Which I know you love, right?
He's got a lot of similar qualities to kind of how Emmett played. We've got to continue to develop his perimeter game. Emmett shot 42% from 3 for us his last year with us. We got to continue to get Tari's perimeter game better, but he's going to be a really, really good player. He's tenacious. He's a hard worker. He's really focused in on basketball. He's a great student. He's an honor roll student. He's just a really, really good kid, and very, very excited to have him with us.
I love a basketball player out of Chicago. That's what Xavier Pinson is. He comes down to after a couple of years of the Missouri program, but is out of the south side of Chicago. What do you get in Pinson when he joins a program?
Well, he's a baller, man. He texts me every night watching NBA games. He's all over basketball. He's working out 2, 3, 4 times a day. Our biggest thing with him is we've got to continue to get his body better. We've got to get him on the right nutrition plan, on the right strength and conditioning program. Got to get him a little stronger, a little more durable. But we've got to continue to work on a shot, and we've got to get the turnover rate down a little bit. So there's some things we got to do, but he's a all SEC player. If you look at his grades and where he is, he's got a chance to make a huge jump and be a first team all SEC guy, and in the conversation is one of the top players in the league. So we're excited about him too. So
I know the answer to this question, but just for our audience, are you done recruiting the portal?
No. We need at least one or two more. We're going to take. We need a big body. So we're in the hunt there. Hopefully we'll bring something home. We'll bag something this week. But we're in the hunt there. We need a big body, and then if we could find another 3-4, 4-3 type guy, kind of a versatile guy who can make some shots. We would entertain that. But if we get a big body, I think we'll be right there back at the top of the league. I think we're good enough now to compete at the top of the league. But we want to give ourselves a chance to win it and be a top 10, top 15 team. So we need one more big body one more live body to make that happen.
You are still in on some pretty high-end high school players right now as well in recruiting that could choose you here down the stretch. How do you balance recruiting the portal and recruiting high school? Because I know that both you love getting after, but how do you find the balance of building a roster around now that you have access to both?
Well, you've just got to make sure any of the high school kids you got to make sure that they're really, really good from day one and can help you from day one and are ready to roll. So, it's all the same. Can they help you compete? Can they help you win? Whether they're in high school, whether they're in junior college, whether they're in the transfer portal, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where they come from. It's do they fit what you do? Can they help you? Can they help you win? Can they help you compete? So, at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, no matter where they come from.
Will Wade joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Coach Wade in the LSU basketball program in the offseason. You mentioned some of the guys that you have on roster right now, Coach, and a lot of people curious about Sharif O'Neal and how his development is in the offseason and how he is as far as the rehab goes.
Been working hard. I got some video from him. He's out in L.A. working out with a big-time trainer out there this weekend, and I got some video from that workout. His shot looked good. He looked like he was moving well. So we're excited for when he gets back and when we can see all that progress.
Coach, everyone wants to know what's it been like working with Coach Mulkey this past week.
We've texted a lot more than when we've talked, but she's been extremely busy. I think we're going to catch up a lot more this week. I think she's in town a little bit, but she's got a great vision for the program and for the basketball programs, and so I think it's going to be fun. And I know they've sold over 2,500 season tickets. We got to keep getting that up as well.
Coach, the sport coat that Sammy Willard had you in for the introduction to Coach Mulkey is getting a lot of play from last week. You've had that for a while now. I mean, I remember you wore that against Alabama a couple of seasons ago, right?
Yeah, I only wear it every once in a while, but I've got one. I got another one kind of like it, but yeah,
can't wait to see
that. The sharp looking coat. I like it. I guess it's one of the better coats I've got. But this is the first time dressing up in a long time. It felt a little different. I kind of like wearing the polos and stuff all year. So it's the first time I was dressing up in a long time.
Some of your guys getting prepared for the draft process. We saw the NFL draft over the weekend. LSU had 7 go on Thursday, Friday, Saturday in the 3-day selection. But Cam Thomas seems like he's going to be an early selection for the NBA draft. We've seen Trendon announce that he was leaving, and Javante. What's the process like for those guys?
Well, Javante's still here right now. Trendon is. I talked to him last night. He was out. He landed out in California yesterday, and he was already in the gym working when I talked last night. And Cam's been out in California. They're both in L.A. or the Los Angeles area. Cam's been there since Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So I've been talking to him every day as well. So those guys are doing well and getting ready to start the process and start the next phase of their careers. They're both going to be very, very successful.
What did you envision with Darius at the next level? Has his decision been made, or where's the consultation at with Darius as far as the next level?
Well, he's in the draft. He's in the draft right now. I think he's in the process of gathering feedback. He's got some workouts set up for some teams, and so I think he's going to take the feedback from those teams and take the feedback from those workouts and see see what the best situation is for him, see what the best decision is for him, and so I think he's got some opportunities, like I said, to show himself in front of some NBA teams, and then they'll give him the feedback on where he is, and he'll take that feedback and make the best decision, for him and his family. So we're behind him. I think, at this point, he would obviously prefer to stay in the draft and wants to stay in the draft, and we're certainly supportive of that. But if something were to change, and if the feedback changes his mind, we'd certainly be supportive of that as well. So, we'll see where it goes over the next 3 to 4 weeks. See where things shake out, and we'll be here for him and see where things go.
One from a listener, Coach Chili Vic wants to know, ask Coach Wade about Alex Fudge and where he fits in the offseason going into next year.
Yeah, Fudge has been working hard. He just got fully cleared he had 2 surgeries, one on his wrist and on his non-shooting wrist, and one on his elbow. And he just got fully cleared on Friday of last week. And so he's been doing some shooting and some basic workouts, but now he's cleared to do quite a bit more. But he's a tremendous athlete. He was probably our best shot blocker in his limited time in practice. He's probably the best shot blocker we had this year. So he's long, he's rangy. So let's hope.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll see you soon. Thank you for the time this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Here is Coach Wade checking in as you want to read between the lines there. Darius Days, possible return.
Yeah, I just don't see where he would fit in the NBA, honestly.
I mean,
that's where we disagree there a little bit. I think he's kind of made for the NBA.
really, out of those guys, you think that he doesn't fit?
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't know where you'd play him defensively.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of them defensively, I think, have
Thomas
huge
has the
question
potential.
marks. Thomas has the biggest upside just because of his scoring capability, and it's a scorer's league, right? A lot like Marcus Thornton. I mean, Marcus Thornton's getting more tryouts after being out of the league for a couple of years. I mean, he's a guy that lasted 9 years.
Had a whole career
Exactly. So Darius Days, I mean, I think because his potential of scoring,
stretch the floor.
but yeah, I mean, defensively, they're all liabilities.
Yeah.
All of them are liability, including Cam. I mean, Cam's a liability, Trendon's a liability, Javonte's a liability, Darius Days is a liability. But when you talk about pro prospects, Cam, to me, is the highest when you talk about ceiling and just a prospect evaluation. But I think Days is next, just because of his ability to score it.
We see him in mid-second round?
I don't think he gets drafted. I mean, I really don't. I just think that there's too many selections for an NBA roster when you look both, collegiately and internationally. You know what I mean? That it's
and
just
the G League. What's with the G League?
Absolutely. And there's only 60 selections.
Yeah.
There's only 2 rounds. I mean,
That's interesting.
I don't think that he is one of the top 60 players in the world that's draft eligible right now. I think he's probably the top 150 in the world right now, but I don't know if 150 people can fit into the NBA every year. And I think that all of these guys can play pro basketball. Not all of them can play in the NBA. Cam Thomas, to me, is a bona fide NBA player just because he can score it. You can draw up plays for him at the NBA level, run him off of screens, or set up plays where you can run him into spots where he's going to get you points automatically. And I think Darius Days is probably next on that list that you can trust from a scoring standpoint. None of these guys I trust defensively. Javonte Smart doesn't have a overwhelming skill set that I say translates to the NBA. Like Tremont Waters can handle the ball like a point guard. He can score, in a sense, like an NBA player. So that gets you into the league. Then you start to refine those skills. Darius Days has a scorer's skill. He can score. He can't do much else, but at least you can get him to the league and see if you can't refine that and make him a player. Where does Watford fit in?
Yeah, I think he's too slow laterally.
He's too slow laterally. He's very gifted offensively, but can he create that shot in the NBA? Can you get that shot in the NBA?
I mean, think if he plays as a point forward, Jokic can do that. Could we refine no skills?
No way. But I mean, did you see with him? Did you see him with the ball in his hand primarily this year when they tried to make him the point forward?
Yeah.
Which the NBA said obviously to him last summer, we need to see that skill developed. I mean, you gave him the ball in the open floor, and it was a turnover. It was a turnover. And if it's a turnover in the SEC, it's definitely a turnover in the NBA. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to be a smartass to the kid. I'm just saying that he could have used definitely one, if not two more years of college basketball, and anybody telling him within his circle that he's NBA ready is not doing him the justice. That's not the people you want in your circle. You want the people to shoot you straight and tell you the truth, man. You don't want somebody out there saying, yeah, go get your money, go get in the league when you can't play in the league. And to me, Cam is ready. Darius Days is on the fence. I don't know where Days, I think Days 365 days from now will be the same player that he is today.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that he has not so much hit his ceiling, but he's tapped his potential to show you who he
Refining
is.
those tools, as you said, mastering the craft,
Right?
doing your job.
I don't know where Javonte fits in at the NBA level. I think that Javonte could be an international player and
Damn good international
and could play a long time internationally. And I would say consult Daryl Mitchell if that, you know, gives you any source of anxiety because of leaving the country. And Daryl Mitchell is, after 2 years of being intensely homesick, you know, you're talking about somebody that had never left the state of Louisiana. The first time he ever boarded a plane was on LSU's first road trip his freshman season, playing for the basketball program. And then he's living, you know, around the world from St. Martinville, Louisiana. He would cry himself to sleep every night. But, you know, 10 years later, a decade later, he's a superstar internationally. I mean, I talked to Tasman Mitchell about Daryl Mitchell. I mean, there are towns within Europe that you cannot travel into with Daryl Mitchell, that he won't be recognized, or he won't, you know, they'll buy his meal or they'll park his car or whatever. I mean, he is a superstar in some cities over there just because of what he accomplished on the basketball floor. So I think you can make a good life playing internationally, and you may not see it in Javonte's seat right now, when Javonte has only envisioned himself as a child and as a kid growing up as an NBA player.
The Spanish league, like in Spain, France.
Oh, man.
Those are
Turkey.
Really competitive. Australia.
Crazy.
I mean, it's
really competitive.
Italy. I mean, they have incredible international basketball leagues. I mean, I want to say that Daryl Mitchell lived 2 years in Morocco.
Really?
Is I
don't know that.
Spain?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like in like,
wow,
was living like, I mean, like
cool.
That
a
is quite a
great life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
like
think it's cool.
just
Yeah.
living and seeing and experiencing
yeah,
culture that you never could have imagined.
Right.
You talked to Daryl Mitchell about his experience internationally, and when he left in 2007 and 2006, he would have never, ever expected to live the life he did. And he never would have probably even wanted to if you would have given him the proposition, because he was so close-minded to being an NBA player and being a South Louisiana kid. You know what I mean? Where I'm not going to live in Turkey. I'm not going to live in Israel.
Never even eaten turkey.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just it'll be interesting to see how this works out. But if I did take anything away from that conversation, is that the door for Darius Days is not closed yet.
I thought it was interesting. He was talking about analytics. I think that's really interesting the way they're doing that with rebounding.
Yeah.
They got something cooking
Bro,
up there.
he is an
cool.
analytical warrior.
it sounds like it.
I mean, like, the analytics that they break down.
It's funny. You do that 10 years
minute.
ago. College basketball, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
Just
crazy
go get somebody tall. What do you mean?
Exactly.
Like, no, it's all in the margins. That's where Will Wade likes to operate. And I feel terrible for whoever his GA is. That is just crunching numbers all day. It's like, hey, I need this, I need that. It's like, I don't even know how to find that stat, dude.
Phil's Oyster Bar brings us every conversation with Will Wade here. Remember, Phil's Oyster Bar, located over there in the South Down Shopping Center. Stop in and see Anthony and the crew. Great seafood selections for you. as they've got great lunchtime specials, but a great seafood menu for you to choose from over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Let's reset. We will get back to some NFL discussion and some football discussion as Derek Stingley Sr. will stop by the conversation. His son, Derek Stingley Jr., is within the top 4 of everybody's selection a year from today when the NFL draft takes place in 2022. We will ask him if he got any feedback on people that did opt out. What was the feedback on opt-outs in this year's draft, and what was his overall view of the draft as Burrow and Chase reunited in Cincinnati, Brady and Marshall reunited in Carolina. Some storylines and some LSU stuff to ask Coach Derek Stingley Sr. about next here when we return on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered every single day by Go Chevrolet. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that health care is brought to you in 2021. Welcome back here to Monday's edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, presented by Go Chevrolet. Appreciate Will Wade for stopping by here, talking a little transfer portal, recruiting, possible opening. Darius Days returning to the roster in
Ron Burgundy.
2021. I don't know, man. I thought that I heard that when Coach Wade was here. If you miss it, you can find it, and it'll be brought to you by RMB Builders. All of our podcasts, all of our stuff here is brought to you by RMB Builders. If you want to check out RMB Builders, if you need a custom-built home, if you need a remodel done around the house, I got Rhett and the crew coming out to the house later today. Going to look at a bathroom addition possibly to help me out on RMB Builders. RMB-Builders.com is where you find them.
I mean, between you and Katie, they don't have to work another day in their life. My
This
God.
Jordy
Still at
Culotta
my
Show
house.
thing is working
Really
out,
out.
man.
Do trade? You want to do trade?
Yeah, that's right. LSU football over the last 2 seasons has put more players into the NFL draft than they have in the history of their program, as they've seen now 21 players drafted over the last 2 years. They had 14 drafted last season. They had 7 go over the weekend. And if you are paying attention to the 2022 mock drafts, they potentially could have the number 1 pick as Derek Stingley Jr. I have seen 4 mock drafts produced over the weekend, and that is not including Mel Kiper's top 100 for the next season's big board. And all 4 mock drafts have Derek Stingley Jr. going within the top 4. Mel Kiper Jr. has him as his top overall prospect in his top 100 going into next season. So Stingley Jr., this is the season that the family that everybody has been looking forward to. Derek Stingley Sr. is so kind with his time, his information, and his knowledge as he's with us weekly. This will be his last stop until we get cranked up for fall camp, as he'll take the offseason off and get, I guess, looking towards next year. This is it, huh, Coach? This is the year we've been talking about. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing? Yeah, this is a time for him to really understand that, his future is right here. He's right at the doorstep.
I wonder, you've known this for so long, I'd imagine, just by the feedback, and the game of football. That Stingley Jr. is a guy that checks all the boxes from a prospect standpoint, and it seems like the NFL cannot wait to get their hands on him. But have you looked at these mock drafts? I mean, just did curiosity get the best of you over the weekend as a father of potentially next season's number 1 pick? Have you looked at a lot of this information coming out for next year and see how popular Junior is?
I mean, we see it, but we don't look for it because a mock is a mock. There's so many things that got to happen during the season, and then even during that whole process of once the season's over, when they do the evaluation, so many things come up with other players, and you just never know what could happen. But we understand that Derek is probably priority top 5-ish player. Some people are saying top player overall, which that blows my mind. But we just look at it as he just have to continue to do the right things. Make a few plays, stay healthy, and then we just see where we go from there. But we're excited about it. I mean, this is one of his lifelong dreams, and hopefully, if all goes according to plan, he'll get to live that out.
Man, obviously, we are pulling for him very, very intensely. From a father's standpoint, what is this feeling like? Is this a feeling of anxiety, or is this a feeling of excitement, or all of that wrapped up into one big gumbo of feeling?
Oh no, it's all of it, because it's the unknown, So we don't know what to expect, but we know what we really want out of it all. And naturally, as a father, you want what's best for your child. And then I know Derek, I know how much he really wants it, and it's just right there for him, and you don't want him to be disappointed. But at the same time, he understands that it's all about what he does and what he can do to put himself in a better position to possibly be drafted, day one, somewhere up top of the draft.
You have been pretty adamant that you guys are playing. That there's no opt-out. You're not even looking at that. You guys are going to play football. But with your relationships in the league, some people that affected, some people not. Jamar Chase was a top 5 pick. He opted out of college football last season. Did you get any feedback on what the opt-outs did for the analysis, for the evaluations of players? Nobody specifically, just the theme of last year was opting out. What did that do to the draft process? Did you get any feedback on that?
We got a little bit of it. It was some NFL teams were like, we're not about the opt-outs because, we need to see more tape. We need to see more film. And, we can go off last year, but we want to see your growth, that kind of thing. They want to see guys who at least finish out their year or play throughout. Now, this was some teams. Some of the teams, they understood. We were in a pandemic. We was dealing with COVID, and it was a lot of health issues going around. And if anything, that was the year for opt-out. Mm-hmm. I don't see that being this upcoming year. I mean, I think if players opt out this year, teams might look at them as, okay, if you're making a business decision, we understand that. We would love for you to be healthy and play for us because, you have less wear on your body. But then what's going to happen when it's time for you to take your second contract with us, and then all of a sudden you just refuse to play because you're making another business decision. Mm. So sometimes those things may come into play. So, I think, personally, players should just play out. Now, if they're injured or something else come up, then they just have to, adjust within that. But I don't think there's going to be that many opt-outs this year as it was last year.
Jamar goes 5th overall to Cincinnati and reunites with Burrow. How cool of a story is that for somebody like you that knows these guys personally and saw them go through building that chemistry every single day? I mean, I say this, I think you didn't miss a practice for those two guys, and you didn't miss a game. You really saw that chemistry being developed every day. Now they're going to be professionals doing it. How cool is that from your point of view?
I think they're going to pick up right where they left off, and it's great. I was happy for both of them, and especially for Jamar. By him sitting out, he was out for a whole year, but to go back with Joe to where he already has that chemistry, and then it's not like he has to get to know the quarterback or get up there and run routes just to build the chemistry and timing and things like that. It's already there. It's been there. For those two, it's going to be like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you already know how to do it. And they're going to pick up right where they left off. I was excited for that pick. I was glad to know that, we get to see some of that same magic that we saw in 2019 with those two. And Jamar is going to take the league by storm. I was at his pro day. He looked so good. He looked like one of the best players in the NFL for that moment, and he hadn't even got drafted yet. So, it's going to be exciting to see him connect back up with Joe.
What'd you think of Kyle Pitts going before him? I know that you've got experience with both Pitts and Chase and watching these guys up close. I know what you think about Chase. What do you think about Pitts, and what did you think about the selection of him going to Atlanta?
I mean, I was a little surprised with that because, now don't get me wrong, Kyle is another generational type player at tight end. But he's more of a receiving generational type player. What do you do on the blocking downs? Do you take him out? But if you're going to spend a fourth pick for that type player, he needs to be an every down player. So that's his liability, and they probably want to work on it. But I thought they were going to go quarterback, or I thought they were going to trade back, to be honest. But Kyle, he's a different matchup. It's tough to go up against him because he's going to naturally be bigger than the corner. Naturally, he's going to be more skillful than a safety. So he's a matchup problem. So I get that part of it. But at the same time, you still got to be physical. You still got to play in the trenches, and that's part of what a tight end is supposed to do. But as we see, Jordy, freaking the NFL, the game is all 5 wide receivers. He's just another big wide receiver that's spreading everybody out. So it's going to help the Falcons. I mean, it's good for him. I'm rooting for him. He's the SEC player. That's about it. So.
Hey, Coach, how'd you like Kerry Vincent going to Denver?
I thought that was a good pick for Denver. I thought Kerry should have went a little higher. I know that the Denver coach, he was once in Chicago, and they run 2 safeties high. Not for sure exactly how they're going to play Kerry, whether they're going to play him with the nickel as a cover guy, or Kerry can even go in as a corner as well. But if he's out there on the hashes, for Kerry, he can get sideline to sideline. He's a ball hawk. So it's good for him. I know Kerry was probably a little disappointed, but at the same time, hey, man, he has one of the best jobs in the country as an NFL player, and he was drafted. So pretty sure he's going to take advantage of that and go up there and play hard.
Hey, Coach, where do you see Jacoby Stevens fitting in the league?
Man, I was thinking about that even when he got drafted. I was like, what did Philly do? Did they pick him up as a safety, or was he a linebacker? Because you just don't know. And Jacoby plays better naturally at the line of scrimmage. We all know that. Jacoby, he's a great tackler, but it's more so like, will they play him as a true safety? Will he be, a middle safety, or will he be a half safety with 2 safeties deep? In my opinion, I think that he's probably going to be a little situational type player. I think he would start off being a special teams guy until they kind of really find a mold for him and figure out where he's going to fit in. I think that he's going to be, he's just going to make his money really playing special teams. A lot of it probably is a quality backup. But I think the more he gets into the scheme of things, once he recognizes his role, whether it's going to be safety or linebacker, and accept it, then he's gonna have more success. So good for him as well. I'm happy for him too, because I know that there was a lot of question marks on him, and it was good to see him getting drafted.
Terrace Marshall, the steal of the draft?
In my opinion, yes. I think a lot of teams got it wrong. Yeah. I think he should have been somewhere in the first round. He's always been that type of player from ever since high school. I know he dealt with some injuries, but that's the nature of the game. I mean, it wasn't like it was soft tissue injuries with him. It was like, you know, these are breaks. You know, that's something that you can't deal with. You know, but he's going to go up there and he's going to do well, especially with Joe Brady. You know, Joe knows him. He knows how to use him. Before he got hurt, naturally, we all know that he was on that 2019 team. He was the best receiver, leading in most of the categories. So hopefully Joe can pull some of that out of him as well. And I know Terrence, you know, he's gonna have a little chip on his shoulder. Now he's a quiet guy, but he's a true competitor. So I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he got his opportunity. But he's gonna make a lot of teams pay for sure.
Is your phone blowing up? I mean, does it blow up now? I mean, does this one that start, or did it start like 4 years ago? I mean, on somebody like Junior, just because, I mean, I know that you don't take anything for granted, but people have pegged him to be an NFL player since he's been in 8th grade. I mean, like seemingly saying like it's going to happen. So when is it craziest for you? Has it been crazy already, or is the craze start right now?
Well, it's been crazy, but it got more intense, like right after the draft.
Okay.
And on a lot of different platforms, not just phone calls, text messages, DMs, you know, all this type stuff. And I was like, I just don't. I do understand it, but I don't see the sense of urgency with all these people that want to be a part of my son's, you know, upbringing when it comes to that time for him to get into the NFL draft. But I mean, you know, I'm dealing with it the same way we dealt with it throughout his recruitment. You know, going into college, you know, we're in control of this. We're never going to be overwhelmed. I'm not going to allow him to be overwhelmed about it. We talk daily about different things, what to look forward to, you know, the process of everything from, you got the name, image, and likeness coming up with the marketing. You got the agent. You got, you know, just training, scheduling, you know, dieting, things like that. You know, that's always on the table within the conversations with me and Derek. You know, and then my wife and I, we try to map things out as well, you know, to try to make things easier for him, take a lot of pressure off of him. We just want him to play football. We don't want him to have to deal with all the nonsense that comes with, you know, a player of his caliber, you know, and we just want him to be just a football player and not have to be a businessman right now, because that's not what he is. He's just a college athlete.
I'd imagine the fastest way to lose access to Junior would be try to access Junior right now, right? I mean, all this stuff is going through you, huh?
Yeah, it's going through me and my wife, of course, but there've been, you know, times where, you know, I had to basically let somebody know what's really how the process goes. And unfortunately, once that happens, if something goes through Derek, and it hasn't been often, but if it does, Derek immediately contacts me, and he don't even say anything to those people. And then I'm getting on them, telling them, you know, this is not the way to handle things. And unfortunately, you know, a bridge has been burnt. So thank you. And we move on as a family.
Make the choice pretty easy on that front.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I would say you've handled this masterfully from somebody that's been like a first overall recruit coming in for almost 4 years. Then he comes in as a freshman All-American, and you've managed to keep the spotlight relatively low on him. Do you ramp it up a little bit in what is almost, we would all think is last year at LSU? Or is it playing as normal?
Yeah, well, you know, we want Derek to talk more, to be more out in front. But Derek, he's just quiet by nature. You know, we would prefer him to do more interviews, to want to be out as a leader and things like that. But stuff like that don't come natural to him. So sometimes it feels forced, and we're working on that. You know, we're making sure that he's, you know, doing the right things on how to speak to the media, how to, you know, get himself out of trouble if someone asks him a question that he can't, you know, really stay on the fence about it, but learn how to just back away from it, you know, those type things. And you know, This is his year. He do need to talk more.
Yeah, Coach. Real G's moving silence, dude. You ain't got to worry about it.
Does he anticipate being like a team leader? I mean, like SEC Media Day stuff? I mean, is this his time? I mean, would he feel comfortable doing stuff like that?
Yeah, he'll do it if they ask him.
Yeah.
But they have to ask him about 5 times.
Right. Well, Coach, we always appreciate the access that you allow us and giving us a front row seat to just the information and some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and we'll always be grateful for that. I know that Elite Football Academy is taking off this offseason, and there's a lot of time that is going to be dedicated to that. I also saw that a name that you gave us a couple of weeks back in Austin Alsbury just clocked a 4.3 a couple of weeks back at a combine as he's continuing to fly up the recruiting pipelines as well. So I know it's a very busy time for you in the offseason. We cannot wait to get back going in football season, as it should be a very exciting year for the Tigers and for Sting Jr. Thank you again, as always, Coach.
Man, I appreciate you, Jordy. You know that.
All right, babe. I'll see you, man.
Yep.
There is Coach Derek Stingley Sr. checking in this morning as I tell you what, man. There has not been a defensive back selected number 1 overall since 1956 was the last time that a defensive back was taken number 1 overall. Now, we've seen Jeff Okudah go 3. If there was ever a prospect that could put pressure on the number 1 selection, now it's going to matter who it is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if they need a quarterback, it looks like Sam Howell from North Carolina is going to be the top quarterback on the board for next season's draft, and he's hovering around that 1-2 pick with Stingley. But if you don't need a quarterback and you have your quarterback solidified for at least the short-term future or the long-term future, and you need a defensive player, Stingley Jr. is going to put a lot of emphasis on changing that historical reference if he stays healthy. And that's the only thing that has to happen. Because all the other stuff that you worry about with top-round draft picks or top overall picks, you don't concern yourself with Derek. The off-the-field stuff, the getting caught up in the fame and getting caught up in the spotlight and getting caught up in the attention, all that stuff, you don't have to worry about. He's been dealing with that since really kind of the first time he stepped on the football field. I mean, remember, his grandfather is not only the story, but the player is one of the most recognizable names in football, in Darryl Stingley, in the way that he was hurt to becoming paralyzed on the football field by Jack Tatum, to the life that he lived in a wheelchair and bringing so much attention to positive energy around a very negative story. So the Stingleys have dealt with the spotlight seemingly since day one. I don't think there will be any type of shock of fame for Derek Stingley Jr., right? If he stays healthy, and last year he got hurt on some quirky, weird, stupid stuff, tripping over the chain at Missouri on a first down marker, and just didn't ever get going, it felt like. The season never really missed the first game. You know, the injury in game 2 at Missouri. I mean, it just never really felt like he was able to get traction on his sophomore season. I mean, it just felt like he could never get his footing. He heard all of that. I mean, he's very motivated for next season. It also motivates him internally, and I don't know this, but I got to imagine the competitor that he is in seeing Eli Ricks getting all that shine last season, and seeing Eli Ricks getting a couple of pick sixes, and seeing Eli Ricks in some circles being talked about as maybe the best cornerback on LSU's team. Yeah. I mean, that is something that is going to quick start 24. And I expect him to blow up. I expect him not to blow up, just to have the season that we expect him to have. I mean, I think that last season, in a decade of, in a decade career of football, I mean, you go back 10 years over the life of Derek Stingley Jr.'s football career, he's never had a season like that. That's an outlying season last year. he's going to be back on track and doing stuff that he normally does, I think, within months. And with the potential and motivation of being possibly the number 1 overall pick, I think you see the best of Derek Stingley Jr. here in 2022. And think how good he was 2 seasons ago. I think he was the best cornerback,
The Georgia
best
game.
defensive player
Cool.
in the sport. I mean, he took away a side of the field. He cut off a half of the field
At 18 years old.
before the game even started. Texas wanted to try and take their chances at him, and I think the rest of America said, oh, shit. He's for real.
Florida tried to pick on him and then learned. They got bit.
They got him a little bit. Van Jefferson got him a little bit, but Jefferson's making plays on Sunday. You know what I mean?
They got
Kyle
him
Pitts
burning
came at him a little bit. Kyle Pitts, number 4 overall pick in the draft. You know what I mean? But the best battles that Stingley's been in over the last couple of seasons has been versus Jamar Chase. I'm telling you, 2 years ago, the storyline was you could have charged admission to LSU's practice because of not only the way that those 2 cats were going at each other, the shit they were talking in between plays. And I mean, you're talking about 2 cats that they're not going to tell the microphone, they're not going to tell the public that they're the top overall prospects of what they do, but internally they believe they are. So when one of them's going at another one and they are like putting hands on each other, putting face mask to face mask, one of them's getting one, the next play, the another one's getting the next one. I mean, it was some of the best I've ever seen with and then the stories that Mickey Joseph or even people like Greg Stringfellow, the equipment manager who's out there every day, is talking about that they see. I mean, those iron sharpening iron every day on the Ponderosa got Stingley ready for, and even Keyshawn Butte now. I mean, Butte's got to look at Stingley and say, man, what an absolute blessing for Butte to have the opportunity to go up against the number 1 cornerback in the 2022 NFL draft every single day. Every day. Every day. He gets that. Repetition after repetition of going up against that cat and seeing and knowing and having Durante Jones on the back end coaching Stingley, telling him what the NFL guys are looking for. That's recruiting. That's what wins in recruiting. That's why it's the same old schools every single year dominating recruiting and dominating the NFL draft because they're selling to these young guys. LSU standpoint, you've got Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall in the same wide receiver line going up against Derek Stingley Jr. and Kerry Vincent, 2 pros. And the list goes on and on and on. So I can't wait for this next season for Derek Stingley Jr. People that have been close to him, like we have been over the last couple of seasons, have been really waiting on this time for Stingley, just knowing what was there and on the horizon for him. And here he goes. He's in his money year. He's in his money year of college football, and his dad, who is, his number 1 supporter and really, at this point in his life, his manager, told you he ain't going nowhere. He's not opting out.
Oh, he wants more of him.
He's playing football. So I can't wait to see 24 in purple and gold play. Daily, we're brought to you by Edward Jones. Remember, over at Edward Jones, let them help you today with any financial questions that you may have. Daniel Newman can help you over in Central. He's over there across from Stabs in Central over at Magnolia Square Drive, and you can call him today. The phone number is simple, 225 area code 261-8262, 261-8262, or just email Daniel, daniel.newman, N-E-W-M-A-N, at edwardjones.com. That's daniel.newman at edwardjones.com. Any questions you have about your finances, Daniel can offer up a great solution for you. We rolled over the 401k from our last stop to Edward Jones and Daniel Newman. It worked out tremendously. He promised it would be easy, and it has been easy since day one. If you work at the plants, if you work BASF, Dow, Exxon, any of the chemical plants and have questions about your financial future, about what's going on with your 401k, your Social Security, any of the financial questions that you may have, let Daniel Newman answer them this morning. Get in touch with him by calling 225-261-8262 8262, or email him if you're watching online, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on JordyCulottaShow.com or on Facebook. You see the lower third there showing the email address, Daniel.Newman@EdwardJones.com. New Orleans Saints select a pass rusher in the first round. They go with a defensive end out of Houston in Peyton Turner, who comes in as the 28th selection in the first round. Saints also traded up on Saturday to draft Ian Book, the quarterback out of Notre Dame. We will ask Nick Underhill of NewOrleans.Football next, right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy@JordyCulottashow.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy@JordyCulottashow.com to learn more. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet every single day. Good stuff this morning from Derek Stingley Sr. A little bit of a behind-the-curtain peek at potentially the #1 overall prospect in next year's NFL draft in Stingley Jr. Good stuff from him. We talked to Will Wade. Coach Wade was talking about their success in the transfer portal up to this point and how they'll continue to recruit both high school and college transfers. And, man, I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to our next conversation. I've been telling our crew that we are now forming up a partnership with NewOrleans.Football and Nick Underhill. We now have the authority to sell NewOrleans.Football, which we were excited about. We're going to a lot of our sponsors first about NewOrleans.Football, but we want to bring it to the public and give you the opportunity to support this product, because if you like the Saints, if you look for Saints information, if you support the black and gold, then NewOrleans.Football has to be your go-to site to find your information.
If you want to sound smart.
Absolutely. It is.
Yes.
It is the absolute premier site for New Orleans Saints coverage.
I best subscribe.
We have the clip. I need to get you the clip. I'm going to get you the clip to play, Lloyd. But Alvin Kamara, after last season's regular season win, was asked specifically about an injury. And Kamara says that the only person in the building that has better sources than him is Nick Underhill.
Wow.
And Underhill runs NewOrleans.Football. I am a subscriber. I am an everyday reader, and I get my podcast information there, like the last podcast that was published over the weekend, breaking down the second day of the draft. It is a great listen. And as I said, and we will be out on the streets with NewOrleans.Football information. But you can email into the show if you are curious on how you can support the product. We welcome in the publisher, the CEO, the man behind the pen over at NewOrleans.Football is Nick Underhill, joining us now here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning, bro. How are you, man?
Man, I need you to intro me like anytime I walk into a room. That was fantastic.
You got smoke coming in as you walk in, man. You got to come in with sunglasses on. Absolutely. But he's the best, man. I tell you, Nick and I we've been working together now for over a year. And much respect to you, Nick, before we get into the information of betting on yourself. We were forced into doing this. You made the decision on your own and really set a sail solo at NewOrleans.Football. And I know that had to be a very scary and anxious time, but a very prideful moment for you to see the success that the site is having, and for people like us to follow the blueprint that you've kind of laid in front of us to try and get to.
Yeah, man. I guess we can all kind of see the business changing a little bit, and it's becoming more about the people instead of the editors or the producers or the people calling the shots. And if you're creating the content, I think you can take your life into your own hands. You know if you can do it or not. I mean, if you're sitting there and you feel like you got a little bit of pull and people trust you, that you can go out and you can do it on your own. And it is scary, but it's out there. And it's scary being in any aspect of this business, really. I mean, we see newspapers going down all the time, left and right. Luckily, the ones in Louisiana are family owned and pretty strong. But in other places, it's not like that. And the business model for a lot of places now is to sell their articles and to sell their podcasts and to make people pay for their content. They aren't paying for the letters ahead of your name up in the banner. They're paying to read you. And, it just as I was sitting there looking at the business, and I see ESPN laying everybody off. And it's just, everywhere you look, SI's doing it. And it's, where am I supposed to go? Like, where is my job going to be in 10 years? And for me, it just felt like, I'm at an age where it's kind of, you can figure something out, or you can wait and hope that, these people figure out a way to get me to retirement. I decided to take a chance on myself, and so far so good, and hopefully it keeps up that way. But I mean, in the changing landscape of our business, if you can take it in your own hands like you're doing, I mean, it's always a good bet to bet on yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you for thank you for the blueprint, and thank you for joining us this morning, and very much looking forward to our relationship here moving forward from a business standpoint. A lot of people expected the Saints to make a move on day one. They held steady at 28 on Thursday night. We hadn't had a chance to talk to you. What did you make of the selection there at the back end of the draft, drafting Peyton Turner, the defensive end from Houston, and moreover, staying put at that position?
They tried really hard to go up. They wanted to get up into the top 10 to take J.C. Horn, Joe Horn's son, and that would have probably been short-term the best outcome for them. I think leaving the draft with that hole at cornerback, and I know they got Paulson Adebo in the third round, and he might plug it, but if they could have left the draft with the sure thing at cornerback, I think I would have felt a lot better about what they were able to get done during the draft. Going into the season, they're still going to have some question marks at that position. I think they might need to go out and get a veteran player. they're at the point now where you can sign someone and it won't count against that compensatory pick formula. They got 2 of those this year, one for Trey Hendrickson and then another one for Terry Fontenot leaving. With Trey Hendrickson leaving, they should get another one and a second one with Terry Fontenot leaving. If they had signed a cornerback that started every game, it might have offset that 1 third-round pick. So, I think waiting until after the draft to sign somebody if they need to was smart just so that you get that pick back. But look, the player they got, he's solid. I think that he has a lot of upside as a pass rusher. There's some quibbling about the value of where he was taken. I'll say this. I mean, if you want Mel Kiper running your draft, and you're going to agree with the draft grades, you're probably not going to have a very good team. To be a better drafting team than other teams, you have to be different. Now, different doesn't mean you're going to be better, but you can't be better without being different. So I know a lot of people had Peyton Turner ranked 50th or something like that, and they took him at 28. We'll see in time if it was a reach. I do think he does a lot of things well. I think he's coming in at a higher level than Marcus Davenport was coming into the NFL. Now, I think Davenport's ceiling is higher, but I don't think Davenport's ever going to touch his ceiling. But Turner, just right off the bat, if you watch him, when Davenport came in, he couldn't rush with his hand in the ground. Peyton Turner can do that. He has a little bit of a pass rush plan. He has some moves. I think there's a lot of room for him to get better. But I do think that it would be very hard for him to not be a contributor in year one. And, I think he's one of those guys you look at and, the floor is really high on him. I don't think he's going to bust. He might not end up being a Hall of Fame player, but I think he's going to be really good for a while.
Hey, Nick, it's Katie. What did you make of the move to draft Ian Book in the 4th?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's not the quarterback I would have necessarily looked at and picked for them. I think he's a little bit of a playground player. The theory behind the pick, I do agree with. They're kind of at a spot now, and really, if you think about it, since 2015 when they took Garrett Grayson, they've been trying to find a successor for Breeze. Grayson didn't work out. They tried to get Patrick Mahomes. They got jumped, didn't draft him. They tried to get Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater showing that he's really not a starter in the NFL. They tried with Taysom Hill. They got him close, but I don't think he's a possible starter in the league. Now they got Jameis. We'll see with them. I mean, in a weird way, they've kind of been operating like, the Broncos, like one of these teams that's in search for a quarterback constantly and can't find one. The difference is they had a pretty good player, holding it down. So it didn't really matter that they were missing a quarterback. But now that Breeze is gone, they're in this search. So I think they need to draft somebody pretty much every year until they have that guy in place at quarterback. Now, with Book, I think there's some things that he does well. I think he's really good outside of the pocket. I think he's actually better when he's playing like in chaotic situations. When he's in the pocket and things are calm, that's kind of where you see him make these like really weird decisions. His short and intermediate accuracy is really good. He can't really throw the ball deep too well, but I mean, they've won a lot of games the last 4 years without a quarterback that couldn't throw the ball down the field. So, I don't know. I mean, we saw Sean really develop Taysom Hill really well. I think he was much worse than Ian Book coming into the league, and there's some similarities to their play style, just outside the pocket, kind of, chaoticness to their games. And like I said, he got Taysom pretty close, so maybe he can develop Book. I mean, I think looking down the list of quarterbacks, I would have probably picked like mid-round guys. I would have probably thought Davis Mills was a better fit for them than Book, but we'll see what he does. The stakes are higher than they were. I don't think, you're banking too much on a 4th-round pick to become anything. It's kind of a lottery ticket, and I think they just got to keep pulling them every year and see if they can find something out at that position.
The Saints weren't able to make that big splash trade that you talked about over to go up and get a top 10 corner and J.C. Horner or somebody in that same vein. Where are we with a little smoke on maybe a Richard Sherman, somebody like that? I saw that he was talking about it on Twitch, so I don't know where we stand with him.
Yeah, was anybody able to make out the end of that Twitch video? Like, I think you guys said they don't.
If you go and look at the comments underneath, everybody's trying to diagram of what he was saying. It's like, oh, it was only 3 seconds. I don't know what just happened.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, for him, I'll kind of go back to the 2017 situation where they signed Adrian Peterson and then they drafted Alvin Kamara, and then Peterson kind of got supplanted, and Sean Payton even at one point said, hey, when we signed Peterson, we didn't know who we were going to be able to draft. I think for some of these guys, these veteran cornerbacks, Casey Hayward, Richard Sherman, some of the other ones out there, they probably wanted to wait too, beyond that comp pick date, just to see who teams ended up with. Because if you're Sherman, you don't want to get drafted to a place and you go to a camp and all of a sudden there's a rookie that's tearing it up in camp, and the team's obviously going to go with the younger player over you if they're playing even close to the same. So then you end up getting supplanted, and you spend the whole season at the end of your career just watching somebody else play and serving as a mentor. I mean, these guys want to play, so I think they need to evaluate who's on each team, revisit with the coaching staffs, get assurances like, hey, you're going to be the guy if you come here. I don't know if anybody can actually promise that when there's a third-round pick in camp who might end up being good, but you know, they need to convince somebody just because that hole's there. And look, even opposite Marshawn Lattimore might miss 2-4 games, whatever the league decides, you know, for the legal situation he has in Ohio. And he's still, you know, he got a 4th-degree felony up there. Like, they could decide to make this a very serious situation for him. So there's a lot of uncertainty at both spots. So they could start the season with Patrick Robinson and P.J. Williams is their starting cornerbacks, or Paulson Adebo and P.J. Williams. You know, you got to figure out something better than that and just have these fail-safes, especially if the rookie isn't ready to play right away.
NewOrleans.Football. Make sure you're subscribed today to keep up with all the Saints information, especially heading here into the offseason. Podcasts are published as well as new pieces over at NewOrleans.Football. Great stuff on breaking down the draft. It has been debated over the last couple of years, Nick, whether or not New Orleans has had the best roster in the sport. If they don't, they've been in the conversation. Where are they now going into the offseason after this draft and after so much roster turnover on stalwarts like Thomas Morstead and Drew Brees out the door now?
It's a good question. You know, I think the one thing we kind of tiptoe around a lot is just kind of what happened at quarterback last year. And Brees finally said it himself recently at the Zurich Classic, just about how there was so much of the offense he wasn't able to operate, and a lot of throws he couldn't make, and they had to kind of cater to that. And I think we saw that pretty clearly, where it was kind of like 1 read, 2 read, dump off to Alvin Kamara, and off you go. So getting better at quarterback just relative to 2020, I disagree with 2019. I think Brees was pretty good in 2019, and you know, things faded at the end a little bit. But in 2020, I think start to finish, getting better at quarterback. If you get someone in there, if Jameis can run the offense and not throw 30 interceptions, I don't think it's going to be super hard to get better play at that position. I think they got worse in the secondary right now, looking at it. Some of the other spots, you know, wide receiver, it's kind of a wash from last year. I think Michael Thomas will be better. Obviously, they could use a number 2 guy, maybe a little bit more of a sure thing. You know, really for me, it's just all at cornerback. If they had 2 good cornerbacks, I think I'd look at this team and say, you know, set the line at 10 wins, and I'd probably take the over. Where it's at right now, if you don't figure that out, that's the one spot on a team that I don't think you can hide. You can hide Alex Anzalone on defense at linebacker, and you'll see him trailing after a play, but it's not going to kill you. You get Quan Alexander, you realize what you were hiding. A cornerback, you know, if you got Brandon Browner out there, they're throwing at Brandon Browner every play, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So they need somebody else to step up opposite that. If they get that, you know, I think that 10 wins, assuming, you know, Jameis throws, let's say, 18 interceptions or less, I think 10 wins is doable. But if they don't get that cornerback, now they're tearing them up. Now Jameis is making these decisions where he's going to feel like he needs to score 35 points every game, and that's where you start getting into trouble with all the interceptions and the decision-making. If you can keep things calm for him where he doesn't feel like he's pressing, I think you can get to where you want to go, and that can be right back in the playoffs.
Last one, I'll get you out of here. What do you make of this Aaron Rodgers situation? Does he play in Green Bay next year? Saints a possibility? What's going on with this situation?
Well, I mean, looking at it from a distance, he kind of seems like one of those guys that might actually take it the distance. You know, he's been a pretty outspoken guy. I think, you know, if we were all to ask to describe his personality, and again, it's from a distance, but he seems, you know, pretty stubborn. You know, whereas Russell Wilson, when that started, you kind of just felt like, well, this is going to get settled. He'll end up back there. You know, Rodgers kind of seems like a guy that you know, he'll get upset and he'll hold a grudge. And I could really, truly see him forcing his way out of there. Now, if I'm Seattle and I got a disgruntled quarterback and that situation still feels weird, I'd just call Green Bay and see if we could do a swap for Hall of Fame quarterbacks and keep it going. Yeah.
I'll take yours, you take mine.
Are we good?
Yeah, right, that's right.
That'd be the best of both worlds for everyone. But yeah, I mean, out of all these names that have come up, he's the one where as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh man, he might actually do this. Like, I could see him actually not showing up and not playing out of spite. And we'll see. That's going to be a very interesting situation. Could the Saints trade for him? I don't know if they have the ammunition to get it done, but if he was out there and that's like truly available, I would offer them almost anything on the roster right now to try to get him here.
Who's off limits? Is it only Kamara and Ramczyk?
Ooh, man, for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Is there anyone that's off limits for Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. I mean, yeah, Alvin would probably be it. If you were to trade for him, like the guy they'd probably want is probably Ramczyk. So, I mean, that's probably where Green Bay would want to start with it. I mean, that's probably the best young player on the team. If you were to trade him for draft picks, it'd probably be 2 first-round picks. That seems to be the market for a tackle. I don't know. I'd have a hard time saying no trading the tackle for a quarterback. Even, he's a little bit older, but these guys played for so long now. I'd have a hard time walking away from that if that can get it done.
Damn MVP of the league. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The biggest player in free agency is Jeopardy.
Nick, that's right. We're fired up about the partnership, man. We love representing you out on the streets and having the opportunity to sell NewOrleans.Football, but more getting your insight and knowledge on our show. So thank you very much and looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, man. See you later. There's Nick Underhill checking in daily. We're brought to you by AdvantaClean. Remember, water, fire, mold. Water damage, fire damage, mold damage with all the rain that came through this weekend. If you see any water damage around the house, log on to AdvantaClean.com, ADVANTA, clean.com, as we can get Bradley Lynch over to you and take care of all of your water, fire, mold damage. Let's call Coach Roman Banks real quick. If you want to, I'm FaceTiming.
FaceTime.
He ain't gonna like that. He ain't gonna like that.
Nobody wants to FaceTime at 8 in the
Like
morning, dude.
that. We will call Coach Banks here. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing good, man. We're live, and I know we're a couple of minutes late. I want to jump right into it. You made news over the weekend. You named Jason Rollins your head coach. He was internal coach, and I know that there was a lot of – you don't have spring drills this year. A new guy coming in would have had to install. There would have been a lot of installation that you would have gone through. And you guys are pretty good, Nick. I don't know if you want to say that, but, I mean, outside looking in, you got a pretty good football team returning to the Bluff.
Well, we think that we finished up our spring season pretty good, and we think that, we brought a lot of coaches in prior to this season, and we think that our chemistry is pretty good, and so we do think that we have a chance to have a pretty good season, and part of selecting this process was all about timing, and we think that it was just time to keep a person that's inside of the staff, a person that application spoke for itself as well, had a lot of over 20 years experience that can keep everything going.
I got to imagine that you had a ton of interest for this job. I mean, take away the institution and the history and everything that goes into Southern University. But like I said, the football team you have right now, what was the interest like at this job when it became open?
For this short period of time, I mean, we had a lot of interest. We at all facets, coaching at all levels, professional athletes, and so we had a lot of interest. The thing about it is that just a particular time, some of the candidates, as we got to moving further, that actually made it to the table that we thought would be possibly good choices as well. They had some things tied in with their contracts, and obviously coaches wanted to bring coaches in and they whole staff, and so all this just became a complicated conversation because really at the end of the day, it's very limited time, and you're actually going to ask student athletes to learn something when it's really not in the practices. How can that possibly happen? And there are some coaches that wouldn't mind keeping a few coaches. Then there were some that did. So it was just all over the table. So, we kept going to what's the best situation for now? What is the right thing to do by the student athletes? Let's take away personality. Let's take away fame. What should we do right now?
Tell me about Jason Rollins.
Well, Jason got a lot of experiences. I mean, he's no stranger to Louisiana. I mean, he played at McNeese, graduated from McNeese. He was on Tulane's staff for several years, worked at McNeese, worked at Northwestern, was the defensive coordinator and social head coach at San Antonio, University of Texas, San Antonio. And so he brings a lot of experience. I think he worked for probably about 3 coaches at Tulane. He was co-defensive coordinator there in a stint at Tulane as well. And so he brought a lot of things to the table. Now, he came to us, coordinator over special teams, but he always have had his hand in helping Coach Odoms in every aspect of the coaching staff.
Coach, great hire. I know that there's a lot working around Southern and the Bluff right now as you guys made the decision over the weekend. Thank you for the time and checking in. We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Go Jack.
Yes, sir. There was Roman Banks checking in this morning as he made it official over the weekend. Jason Rollins, the new head coach for the Southern Jaguars, as we get to the end of today's show, brought to you by Relief Health. Remember, Relief is the best and only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms, health care in the comfort of your own home. The process is easy. Download the app, Relief Health, from your Apple, Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Nurses come to you for any testing or any evaluation. Remember, if you own your own company out there, the Relief will come on site and administer to your employees. They also have the Moderna vaccine right now that they're administering. Relief, the best way to get your health care in 2021. Download the app, Relief Health, from your Apple and Google app stores.
Do people not know what you do? Calling you at 7 to 9, like
big listener.
Big
listener. I tell you what, though, that was let's all exhale now. That was a hell of a show this morning as we moved fast down the highway.
The draft.
Yeah,
he knows.
Derek Stingley Sr.
We talked about a lot of injuries today. I wondered if y'all read that Oakland Athletics pitcher, Jesus Luzardo, broke his finger playing video games. Yeah, so he's out. He thumped the table.
Oh.
Yeah, and broke his pinky finger on his pitching hand.
A pinky finger?
On his pitching hand?
Yes. So he's out.
If I was his agent, I would want to
Oh, my God, right?
What games are we playing, dude? Are we taking this seriously?
Buddy. How about the game that's paying you so many millions of dollars? Why don't you take that game serious
for this
hand?
Us?
I know.
Yes, that's right.
I know, y'all.
What are we doing there? Do you need your pinky to throw a baseball?
Well, I mean,
was it a pinky?
Yeah, it's a pinky. I mean, you can't properly pitch with any broken finger, right?
You don't palm a baseball.
Yeah, but you don't want anything going on with your right hand.
Anything.
You don't think that this man sprinted outside and was like, let me throw a couple pitches. Like, oh, I do have to call somebody. I'm in trouble. Yeah. Somebody give me a baseball.
So, look, here's the deal, man. I lost on Fortnite tonight.
I mean, for real. Can you imagine that conversation? It's just dumb.
Some of the stories that we did not get to today. Bob Baffert won the Kentucky Derby again over the weekend. Medina Spirit pulled off the upset. This is old Bobby Baffert, his 7th career win at Churchill Downs. One of my favorite stories is
we did.
So Mandolin.
We did.
That's right.
Yeah.
We did have a winner.
If you were listening between Megan making money, she threw him in there,
bro.
Have a day every day.
Every single day she cleans up. I mean, good Lord. So Mandolin comes in second. Hot Rod Charlie finished third. If you have not read the story about Hot Rod Charlie, it is pretty cool, man. 5 ex-football players, 5 ex-teammates at Brown University that are now 28 years old.
Oh, I didn't know they were teammates.
They were all teammates,
Okay.
5 of them.
These are troublemakers.
They are. I mean, they all have pretty good gigs now. They all live in California. One of them is the vice president at PNC Business Credit in San Francisco. The other one is an investment professional at a big company out in San Francisco. The other one is co-founder of Tango, which is a website that builds tutorials. The other one is a operations manager for Lyft. And the final one is a vice president of sales and strategic partnerships at a Founder Sports Group and San Diego. So these guys got a little scratch to play with.
I wonder who the
right?
heaviest hitter is of those five.
It seems like Doug O'Neill or the O'Neill. There's an O'Neill that is in the crew. His uncle is a famous Kentucky Derby winning trainer.
This is how they tie it
So
together.
this is where the horse training investment comes in, right? So there's only 5 of them. There is 5 of them, and they pony up a small amount of cash for the 5 of them and buy a minority stake into a racehorse. And they bought 2 up to this point. One of them, obviously, being Hot Rod Charlie. Hot Rod Charlie won the Louisiana Derby a couple of weeks back, which kind of set this thing in motion. I mean, which they say that they still have not slept from the Louisiana Derby. I mean, could you imagine, bro?
I mean,
could you imagine?
Yes, I can. I know exactly how that happened.
I'm 40. I'm 40 looking for investments. If I'm 28 and following a racehorse and we're winning, I'm not sleeping in 3 weeks either.
Louisiana, let's go to Kentucky next.
Yeah, absolutely. So now he's at the Kentucky Derby, and they finished second. Over the weekend.
That's exciting.
And I mean, some of the conversation. There's a great story in the Los Angeles Times that is detailing this. And the uncle, the two-time Kentucky Derby winning uncle, O'Neill, tells the group, they're like, boys, don't think that this is the normal. I mean, this ain't the life, fellas, of a horse racing owner, where you buy 2 horses and you're finishing second in the Kentucky Derby and winning the Louisiana Derby, right, at 28 years old. But it's a hell of a story. I mean, it's got a very entourage feel to it. Kind of you and your boys just kind of ponying up some cash and then it all kind of working out. But Hot Rod Charlie, who finished 3rd, respectively, over the weekend at Kentucky at Churchill Downs, was in the money. But Bob Baffert and Medina Spirit was the winner, and Baffert is now kind of the Nick Saban of Kentucky.
He looks like Ashley Schaefer BMW.
Yes, he does.
From Eastbound and Down, he's got the white hair. Yeah, he just looks like
smells like money.
Yes,
smells like money.
$2 million down on Equality Matters or whatever its name was.
I don't know.
Someone put some old guy. He was like 78.
Oh yeah, Mattress Mac, bro. Mattress
Yeah.
Mac. Yeah.
Notorious loser, Mattress Mac.
He is. Well, he takes the favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens. Bet chalk.
Bet chalk. You eat chalk.
All right, so good stuff from Roman Banks. Good stuff from Willie Wade. Good stuff from Derek Stingley. Good stuff from Nick Underhill. Check out the podcast, all brought to you by RMB Builders. Special thanks to everybody for showing up today. What you got?
Have you ever bet on horses? Have you ever gone to the track?
My uncle is a degenerate horse racer. I mean, just
yes.
It's my first
New Orleans?
time. My second time I went to Vegas. First time I went to Vegas was for my 21st birthday with a couple of partners. My second time was my grandfather, my uncle, and I went with a cousin and Dr. Brad Culotta here in town. Dr. Brad Culotta. Whenever everybody asked me if we're related, and he's my cousin, my second cousin. He got the brains, I got the bullshit, is what I'm telling you about.
Put them together.
Yes, but we were about 23 years old, and our crew took us to Vegas. Dr. Brad was like, had a couple of like, whoa, bro, I don't know if me and you are really related. I'm going to go back to the room. You go ahead and hang out. But my uncle.
It's only 3, dude.
I never knew that he never left the sports book and bet the ponies all day long. I didn't know he had it that bad. And it was the first time that I really saw somebody eaten up by it. You know, I'll play a couple of games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, give me the Tigers. You know what I mean? Like, let's have a little fun. But I mean, the commitment of playing horses and studying the book and bloodlines and the things that go into the research of betting on a horse.
Man, that's dedication.
Is
dedication to your craft.
And then come to find you only bet like $2. You know what I mean?
Well, the payouts are so good.
It's like, I mean, I got a $6 box exact. I'm like, $6 for real?
That's weird.
You have no idea. I would like to have put more down. Yes, I just don't have it.
That's right. But it is a true commitment to bet the horses, bro.
Yeah.
Dog
I mean, and not to just the people that show up for the Triple Crown. I mean, there are people there.
There's somebody there right now.
Evangeline Downs, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like betting the ponies for $3 and $2. I mean, It's a hell of a commitment.
Well, I just have to imagine those guys being there, and I'm sure they all bet on their horse, regardless of, like, even at the window or whatever, and just being that 15 seconds or 1 minute of just absolute, oh, my God, we're winning. Oh, my God, we're winning. Oh, my God, we're winning. Yeah, exactly.
Holy shit.
Is that us? Is that ours?
Shit. Does that say number 3? Is that the 3 horse? Oh, my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. I mean,
well, yeah, it's not the slump, dude.
Yeah, right. I mean,
but
go get me some water.
Where's Wes Welker? But that's what happened to me because I bet on these horses. I don't know who the hell I picked, but I just picked a couple of them. And then they're coming down the track like the last furlong, I guess you could call it.
Coming around the
stretch. And they pulled the graphic down, so I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. I forgot what numbers they were because it was like right before it was like 3 bets in. I was like, I don't know which ones I bet on.
I won.
Yeah.
All right, enjoy. My biggest takeaway from today's show, I think Darius Days is coming back.
Really? Darius Days is coming back.
I think Darius Days is coming back. I mean, listen to the Will Wade interview at the end of it to the Days selection. He was very political. He wanted to be political to make sure that he understood, or at least Days' camp understood that where LSU basketball sat. If it makes sense and the feedback from the draft says you need to go, then you need to go.
Yeah. But if not, we got to
spot for you. But if they don't, it could work out right back at school with a better roster. Yes. I mean, you put
got a lot of kids that can score.
You put Adam Miller, Xavier Pinson.
Maybe another kid.
It sounds like there's another kid out there that they're going after. With Darius Days on this team, Gaines a year better. Sharif, Josh LeBlanc a year better. You could argue that the roster is better.
And I think that kind of suits Will Wade and his style more. He's never really had like when we had a Cam Thomas, he's never really dealt with anything like that before. He's like, hell, roll the ball out and see what happens. Like he's gonna get you 30, but I think he more likes to operate in between of like coaching and move the ball and like get more into being involved. So I think it kind of suits him better.
We'll see, man.
Will Wade's a very interesting interview. I love the way he talks.
Yeah.
There's things that you got to read between the lines.
Well, there's some things that get him, and then there's something like I thought that the Mulkey answer. I thought he would have not shut up.
Yeah.
And just seeing them
he's competing with her right now.
And just seeing them interact. I don't know if they are, Lizzie. I don't know. If
I think in his brain they are.
I don't know if they. I think he sees her as an ally.
For sure.
I think he sees her as somebody that. I mean, the basketball priorities now just got bumped up to the top of the list. I think because Woodward and Stephanie and them promised Mulkey in negotiation that they would make that happen. But not only that, they got the funds now. I mean, Mulkey is she's gonna create the fundraising. Will also has relationships that he can tap into that are not necessarily football relationships. She was working the entire suite corridor.
She had the key.
I mean, bro, she was telling
room you wanted to get into.
Did you see the picture I put? I mean, she was holding court in the middle of our suite. I mean, she did credit the Jordy Culotta Show for making this whole thing happen. I mean,
she should.
So I mean, she was telling a room, huh?
Just ride the wave.
Absolutely, bro. Surf it all the way in.
Yes.
And I
then
did
tunnel back out.
I did. Yes, I did hear that they are offering courtside seats for next year's like true courtside seats that taking the table up.
But yeah, I meant competing in the sense of very much like Jamar Chase, Derek Stingley. Like we're gonna make each other better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Iron and iron.
Yes,
for sure. Enjoy your Monday. We're back with you tomorrow morning. Go Chevrolet. Remember, on Florida Boulevard is the brand new used car lot, and then out in Laplace, Louisiana, is where you can check out all of the brand new car selections online at GEAUX.Chevrolet.com. Jordy Culotta Show signing off. Back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.
Bro, this tan looks good on me. Taking it.
Damn, that was